The lake sparkled beyond the breakfast room's panoramic windows, sunlight dancing off waves that held more secrets than my family could imagine. The Sunday brunch tradition at our family's lakeside estate had always been a stage for power plays and subtle warfare, dressed up in Vineyard vines and Ralph Lauren. Mom was serving her famous eggs Benedict while Dad prepared to deliver what he thought was punishment for my latest career failure. The familiar scent of hollandaise sauce mixed with the lake breeze flowing through the open French doors, carrying the distant sound of boats and summer memories. "Well, Jennifer," Dad began, adjusting his Rolex with that particular movement he'd perfected over decades of boardroom negotiations, "since you've decided to abandon the family investment firm, your mother and I have made a decision about the property division." My sister Amanda smirked behind her mimosa glass, her tennis bracelet catching the morning light. She'd been insufferable since making partner at Morton & Price, the position I'd turned down 3 months ago. "Don't worry, sis. I'm sure you can fix up that old dock, eventually." I took a slow sip of my own mimosa, letting the tart orange juice mask my amusement. My phone buzzed silently in my lap, another update from my geological survey team. I'd spent 3 years preparing for this moment, watching my family underestimate me at every Sunday brunch. "The main lake house will go to Amanda and Charles," Mom announced, as if bestowing a royal title. She adjusted her Hermes scarf with practiced elegance. "They'll need the space for entertaining clients. The South Shore property has always been the crown jewel of our holdings." Charles, my sister's investment banker husband, nodded importantly, his private school polish gleaming like his Patek Philippe watch. "We're already planning to renovate the whole thing. That view is wasted on the current layout. The architectural plans alone cost." Yes, Dad cut him off, sliding a folder across the white tablecloth toward me. "And Jennifer, you'll get the old property on the North Shore. It needs work, but perhaps it'll give you something to focus on now that you've left Morton & Price. God knows you need a project." My phone buzzed again. I glanced down discreetly at the message that would change everything. Confirmation: rare earth deposits extend 2.7 miles under lake bed. Estimated value: $8.3 billion. Mining rights secured. Chinese consortium standing by. The North Shore property. I kept my voice carefully neutral, thinking of the geological surveys hidden in my private server. "With the broken dock." "It's a perfectly good starter property," Mom insisted, passing more hollandaise sauce with a practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "If you'd stayed at the firm, you could have afforded something better, but given your current situation." I thought about the geological surveys, the mineral rights, and the quietly assembled team of mining experts waiting for my signal. 3 years of careful research and secret preparations, all while my family thought I was finding myself. The northern property wasn't just a consolation prize, it was the key to the entire lake's underground treasure. "That's very generous," I said, signing the property transfer documents without hesitation. The Mont Blanc pen, a gift to myself after securing the initial mining permits, glided smoothly across the paper. "I'm sure I'll figure something out." Amanda laughed, the sound bouncing off her perfect highlights. "Maybe you can start a little boat rental business. You know, something simple? Since the tech startup thing didn't work out." If she only knew that the failed startup was a cover for my real venture. My phone lit up again. Chinese buyers confirmed. Preliminary offer, $12.4 billion. Japanese consortium entering bidding war. I poured another mimosa, hiding my smile behind the crystal glass. The ice clinked musically as I watched a boat cruise past the window, directly over billions in rare earth minerals that would soon belong to me alone. "Something like that," I agreed mildly. "I've always loved the North Shore's potential." Dad raised his eyebrows at my easy acceptance, clearly disappointed I wasn't putting up a fight. "Well, that's settled then. Amanda, tell everyone about your new corner office." As my sister launched into another self-congratulatory story, I felt the weight of my phone in my lap, heavy with secrets and future fortunes. Let them have their lake house. I'd take the minerals beneath it any day. The brunch continued as sunlight crept across the mahogany table, illuminating the perfect tableau of family power dynamics. Amanda was still holding court, describing her latest merger deal while Charles nodded supportively, his Harvard MBA practically gleaming on his forehead. My phone vibrated again. I glanced down casually, as if checking the time. Geological report update. Rare earth concentration highest in recorded North American history. Pentagon interests notified. Estimated military applications value, $15.7 billion. Jennifer, dear, Mom interrupted my thoughts. At least tell us you'll fix that awful boathouse. It's an eyesore from the main property. I smiled, thinking of the industrial-grade drilling equipment currently being assembled in a warehouse just outside town. Oh, I have some renovations in mind. Speaking of renovations, Amanda chimed in. Charles and I are thinking of adding a helipad. For client convenience, of course. My phone lit up. Department of Defense requesting urgent meeting. Strategic minerals critical for next-gen weapons systems. How nice, I murmured, taking another bite of eggs Benedict. Though you might want to hold off on any major construction plans. Dad's eyes narrowed. Why's that? Before I could answer, the French doors opened, and James Chen, my chief geological engineer, strode in. He was impeccably dressed in a suit that cost more than Charles's watch, though my family wouldn't know that. Miss Foster, he said professionally, I apologize for interrupting your family brunch, but there's an urgent matter requiring your attention. The survey results have exceeded all projections. Amanda rolled her eyes. Survey? Don't tell me you're starting some little environmental consulting business. James placed a tablet on the table, and with one touch, a holographic display filled the air above our plates. Three-dimensional geological maps sparkled in the morning light, showing layer upon layer of mineral deposits stretching deep beneath the lake. As you can see, James continued, the rare earth concentrations are unprecedented. The Chinese consortium has raised their offer to 18 billion, but the Japanese are countering at 20. The mimosa glass slipped from Mom's fingers, spilling orange juice across her imported tablecloth. Billion? Charles choked out. What exactly are you surveying? I leaned back, enjoying the moment. Oh, just the most significant rare earth mineral deposit ever discovered in North America. As it happens, it's concentrated primarily under the North Shore property. I paused, letting that sink in. My property, as of about 20 minutes ago. Dad's face had gone pale. The mineral rights were secured 3 years ago, I confirmed. Right around the time you were telling the club members how disappointed you were in my lack of business acumen. James's tablet chimed again. The Pentagon is on line 1. They are citing national security interests in the mining rights. Amanda's perfect composure cracked. Mining rights? But what about our helipad plans? I'm afraid any construction will have to be approved by my geological team, I said, taking a delicate bite of toast. We wouldn't want to disturb the billion-dollar deposits, would we? $1 billion. Mom whispered faintly. Jennifer, why didn't you tell us? You never asked, I replied simply. You were too busy planning Amanda's corner office celebration to notice I'd assembled the top geological survey team in the country. James cleared his throat. Ms. Foster, there's more. The Department of Energy is requesting priority access. Something about revolutionary battery technology. Dad's business instincts finally kicked in. We could partner with. No, I cut him off gently. Morton and Price doesn't have the expertise or the capital for this scale of operation. I turned to James. Show them the preliminary mining plans. The holographic display shifted, revealing an intricate network of underground operations that would soon transform the peaceful lake into one of the most valuable mining sites in the world. The North Shore property, I continued, isn't just a piece of lakefront real estate. It's the access point to an 8-mile deposit of minerals essential for everything from smartphones to military technology. I smiled at my sister. But don't worry, Amanda. You can keep the view. Charles had pulled out his phone, frantically Googling rare earth minerals. His face grew increasingly ashen as he read. The broken dock, Amanda said weakly, was just a cover. Among other things, I agreed. Though I do plan to fix it. $20 billion should cover the repairs, don't you think? The rest of brunch sat forgotten on the table as James pulled up more detailed projections. Sunlight caught the holographic displays, casting mineral deposit maps across my family's shocked faces. The lake sparkled innocently beyond the windows, concealing its multi-billion-dollar secret. The initial extraction phase begins next month, James explained, scrolling through timelines. We've already secured all necessary permits and environmental impact approvals. Next month. Amanda's voice had lost its usual condescending edge. But Charles and I were planning our summer gala series. I'm afraid the North Shore will be a bit busy, I said, accepting a fresh tablet from James. The Chinese delegation arrives Tuesday to finalize their bid. Dad's business mask finally cracked completely. The Chinese? Jennifer, you can't possibly handle negotiations of this scale alone. I smiled, thinking of the 3 years I'd spent building international relationships while they thought I was finding myself. Actually, James interjected, Miss Foster has already successfully negotiated 4 major rare earth contracts in Asia. The Singapore deal last year set industry records. Mom's hand flew to her pearls. Singapore? But you told us you were at a yoga retreat. The retreat was a lovely cover story, I admitted. Much like the failed startup and the career crisis. It's amazing how much you can accomplish when people underestimate you. My phone chimed with another update. James glanced at his tablet and raised an eyebrow. The Japanese consortium has raised their offer to $23 billion. They are requesting an immediate video conference. Charles, who had been frantically texting, looked up with desperate eyes. Morton and Price could represent your interests. We have experience with middle market investment banking, I completed his sentence. This operation requires rather different expertise. I turned to James. Show them the military applications briefing. The holographic display shifted, revealing classified designs for next-generation quantum computing components and advanced weapons systems. Dad's face went from red to white as he realized the true scope of what he dismissed as his daughter's phase. The Pentagon has classified this site as a strategic asset, James continued. The rare earth concentrations are essential for. That's enough, James, I cut in smoothly. I believe some of those details are still classified. I smiled at my stunned family. Though I'm sure you understand why the broken dock hasn't been my primary concern. Amanda's perfect French manicure drummed nervously on the table. But our summer plans will need to accommodate a few changes, I confirmed. The North Shore will be hosting delegations from various world governments, military officials, and tech industry leaders. I trust you'll understand if the noise from your parties interferes with national security discussions. Mom had finally found her voice again. All this time, while we worried about your career. I was building an empire, I completed her thought. One that makes Morton and Price look like a lemonade stand. James's tablet chimed urgently. Ms. Foster, the White House is requesting an update on the strategic minerals timeline. Tell them I'll call back after brunch, I replied, reaching for my mimosa. Family matters first, after all. Dad's hands were shaking slightly as he reached for the property transfer documents. These terms, we should have our lawyers. Are ironclad, I cut him off gently. I had them reviewed by the top mineral rights attorneys in the country. The North Shore property, and everything beneath it, is mine. The sound of helicopters broke the tense silence. James checked his tablet. The geological survey team has arrived for the final site assessment. I stood, smoothing my sundress. If you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with several generals about rare earth applications in quantum computing. I paused at the door, taking in the scene one last time, the forgotten brunch, the scattered documents, my family's shell-shocked expressions. Oh, and Amanda. I added. About those summer parties? You might want to reconsider the guest list. The noise ordinances around classified military sites can be quite strict. As I left with James, I heard Mom's faint voice. Perhaps we should cancel Jennifer's blind date with the Richardson boy. Yes, Dad replied weakly. Something tells me our daughter isn't having trouble meeting influential people on her own. The morning sun caught the lake's surface as I stepped outside, making it shimmer like the billions in minerals hidden beneath. Sometimes the best revenge, I thought, isn't just success, it's success they never saw coming. 2 months later, I sat in my newly renovated office overlooking the lake, watching the summer sunset paint the water in shades of gold. The construction crews were finishing up the state-of-the-art extraction facility, carefully hidden beneath an architecturally stunning research center that made the main lake house look like a cottage. My phone buzzed, a text from Amanda. Family brunch tomorrow? Mom's insisting. I smiled, remembering the last brunch's dramatic revelations. Since then, the family dynamics had shifted dramatically. Dad had stopped offering unsolicited career advice. Mom had suddenly discovered a passionate interest in geological engineering. And Amanda, well, she'd been surprisingly quiet since her clients started requesting meetings with me instead of her. Ms. Foster, my assistant Sarah interrupted my thoughts. The Department of Defense team has arrived for the quantum computing briefing. And the Japanese consortium is offering $25 billion for exclusive rights. Tell them 30 or nothing, I replied, standing to straighten my suit. And Sarah? Please inform my family I'll be attending brunch tomorrow. In fact. I paused, a slight smile playing at my lips. Tell them I'm bringing some interesting guests. The Chinese delegation? Sarah asked. No, I replied, watching a military helicopter land on my new helipad, the one that made Amanda's planned helipad look like a parking spot. I'm bringing the Secretary of Defense and the CEO of Tesla. Mom always did love having important people for brunch. The sun set behind the hills, casting long shadows across the lake. Somewhere beneath those peaceful waters, billions in rare earth minerals waited to reshape the global technology landscape. And on the surface, my family was learning a valuable lesson about underestimating the quiet one who'd rather read geological surveys than golf at the country club. Tomorrow's brunch would be interesting indeed. I had a feeling no one would be discussing my career crisis anymore. Instead, they'd be watching as I signed contracts worth more than the entire family fortune, all while enjoying Mom's eggs Benedict.